Welcome to the second lesson in TandemFlow's AI development course. In this lesson, we're going to go into the basic commands that Aider has access to, as well as just getting started with a simple project here. I'm starting out here, I'm on the GitHub page. This might look a little different for you depending on when you're looking at it, but this will be the same process. You're just going to go ahead, copy this to the clipboard, head over into your IDE, and you can just run git clone and paste in that link. There we go. So that went ahead and cloned. Now I can just go File, Open Folder, head into Lesson 2 and into that new folder that just was created. Awesome. So within this, we have a template.env file. So remember, your .env file from the first lesson won't carry over into this. So you're going to have to create a new env file and add these keys to it, or just one of these keys if you're using just one of these providers. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, so I've gone ahead and I have added my .env file. So go ahead, do the same thing, and we can get into running Aider. So I'm going to be using Sonnet for this lesson, Claude 3.5 Sonnet from Anthropic, and we can go ahead and boot it up. It's going to ask us if we want to add these to the git ignore. We can say yes. There we go. So we are in Aider now. As we get into figuring out what Aider can and cannot do, it's important to remember that Aider is just a tool to enhance you as a developer. So it's going to allow you to move very rapidly with a high degree of accuracy, a high degree of customization, and we're about to dive into every command that'll allow you to do that. But just remember that Aider is a tool, not a replacement. So it's not going to replace you as a developer. It's just going to enhance your abilities to output high quality code and a lot of it. If you have worked with LLMs before or had long conversations with things like ChatGPT, you'll start to realize that as you add a significant amount of context to the LLM, the performance goes down significantly. And the same holds true for Aider. You want to make sure as you are building software with Aider to keep your context in check. And that means not having too much or not having too little context with any sort of task that you're giving Aider. To manage context within Aider, we have a couple commands that are core to using Aider no matter what. The first one is /add. So you can see if I do /add is the first one that comes up. We have this huge list of commands that we can use. We'll dig deeper into some of these in this course. For right now, we're just going to focus on the context-driven commands and talk a little bit more about that. So right up here, I have this empty Python file, Wikipedia fetcher.py. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the chat with Aider using the /add command. So now we can see right here in the chat, Aider has access to this Wikipedia fetcher.py file, which is great. Now I'm going to hit Control-L to clear out my terminal. We can see right here we have this nice clean interface. Wikipedia fetcher has been added to the chat. Now say I want to get rid of that. I can just use the /drop command and type in that file, and now it'll drop that from the chat. I can also use add. If I add multiple files like so, I can just list them. There we go. So now we can see the README and the Wikipedia fetcher have been added to the chat. And if I want to get rid of them, I can just drop, and this will drop all files from the chat session. Great. Control-L to clear out. Now, as you are building software, it's important to remember that Aider is going to keep logs on all of your chat history, especially while you're having a single conversation with it. So to clear the conversation, to essentially start a new chat with Aider, you can use the /clear command. So if I add Wikipedia fetcher to the chat and then tell it to create a hello world within Wikipedia fetcher, it's going to make a very simple Python file. Here we go. Create new file. Sure, we can go ahead and I wanted it in the Wikipedia fetcher, but we just have a hello world right here. That's fine. We will skip that shell command. But say now I'm going on, moving to another feature, moving to another file, and I don't want to have all of this junk about this hello world in my context window. I can use the /clear command, and that will clear the conversation. So although I can see this now, Aider does not have access to this previous chat. So that in conjunction with the /drop command, drop all the files from the chat, cleared the window. This is like starting up Aider brand new. Now, alternatively, if I were to go ahead and add that back to the chat, I can use the /reset command, and this will drop and clear the context. So it'll drop all the files, and clear the chat history. So this is literally resetting Aider to how it was when you first opened it. Now, one more command that we're going to talk about in terms of reference and file control is the read-only command. So this is just read-only, and we can add files that we want Aider to view, but not edit. So we can see here, went ahead and added read-only Wikipedia fetcher, so we can see this is a read-only file. If I use just normal add on, say, the README, now we have a read-only section as well as an editable section. Perfect. So now there's a distinction between these two files. Aider can only read the Wikipedia fetcher and it can edit the README. So I'm going to go ahead, use that reset to drop and clear the conversation. And there we go. We're back to a blank slate. Okay, so let's actually start building an application that has some use to it. So what we're going to do here is create a very simple Python program that calls the Wikipedia API with an article name and just saves that article to a markdown file. So a very simple program. I can go ahead and just add the Wikipedia fetcher file to the chat, and I'm going to write a quick prompt that describes what I'm trying to accomplish here. Okay, so I have drafted up a very quick little prompt here to update Wikipedia fetcher.py. So I'm specifying which file I want to be working with to call the Wikipedia API. It will accept an article name as a command line argument. So when I run the program, I'll be able to pass in an article name and save the raw text from that article to a new markdown file. Hopefully I can throw this in and Aider should be able to solve this problem pretty easily. So we can see I went ahead, made that change. I will skip the shell command down here, adjust the terminal a little bit. There we go. Sweet. So Control L, clear out my terminal. We can see it just wrote this pretty simple code that will fetch an article. So say we want to run this program now. I can use the /run command just like this, and then type in my command to actually run the Wikipedia fetcher file. And I will pass in an argument, which is an article name. So I will use the Python programming article and just pass that in. There we go. So that worked great. Now we have this Wikipedia fetcher.py file, and we just saved this Python programming, which has all the raw text from the Wikipedia article. Perfect. Now, a couple other things I want to highlight just in terms of the commands that you have access to within Aider is the /undo command. So Aider, as you know, is using Git for version controlling. It's adding these commits, and we can push this all to GitHub very easily. Now, a bonus of using Git for version controlling is that at any time, we can just say /undo, and it will clear out our last made change with Aider. So this is super powerful for when you're making big changes and Aider makes a mistake that you don't quite understand or write some code that you don't fully grasp. You can always just run the /undo command. So I will go ahead and re-add that code. I can just Control Z in the file to re-add that code. And there we go. So we're back to where we were. The /undo command got rid of everything, and I just pressed Control Z to retroactively bring all the code back. So another command that we have access to here in regards to Git is the /git command. So this is just like running Git in your terminal. You can run Git, Git add, and I'll add all the files to Git, and I can write a Git commit message here. So just a quick Git commit message, added python programming.md. You can see we can easily run Git from within the actual project itself. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we were hoping for. I can reset my Aider here. And really quickly, before we close off this second lesson here, there's a couple more commands that are super powerful and we will be using throughout the rest of this course. So these are general purpose. You can use them whenever you want, but they are the /ask command and the /help command. So /ask is a very powerful tool because this allows Aider to use its understanding of what the project structure is, its map of the project, to answer any questions that you might have about the project. So you can notice here, I don't have Wikipedia fetcher in the chat, but I can ask a question about this project. Here, just have a simple question for it. Again, nothing in the chat window right now, no files. I can use /ask to ask, what is the error message for when an article can't be found? It's going to surmise that I'm talking about the Wikipedia fetcher. There we go. We can add it to the chat. Hit yes. And /ask will never actually edit any code. It's just there to answer questions. So it's a very, very powerful and handy tool when you need to answer quick questions on what code is doing, what specific files are there for, or how to implement changes. So super powerful tool. You can see here, it gave this nice little answer about what exactly is being printed from the error status. The final command that I want to bring up is the /help command, and this will answer any question you might have about Aider. I can ask, how do I add a new file to the chat window, send that off, and /help is just there for Aider questions. So it's going to take a little while to load, read all of the Aider documentation, whatever it's doing behind the scenes, and then come back with an answer here. So you can see, obviously a very simple question, but it came back with, you can use the /add command, which is perfect. And alternatively, launch it with the file name. So super helpful. And if you ever run into problems understanding Aider, the /help command is your friend there. It is super, super handy. Okay, so you now have all of the tools you need to start using Aider to write code, to edit code, to work on small projects, anything you need. This is already a very powerful tool just because it lives in the command line. You can use it wherever you want. /add, /drop, all the context management, super impactful. And using the /ask command is also very handy when you just need quick questions answered about code bases or anything in general. So again, these are very powerful commands. We are just scratching the surface with this stuff. So I would recommend right now you go try to replicate this project, try to make a project in a simple single file like this, and just get reps in with these commands because it's super important moving into the next lessons that you are feeling very confident with your ability to run these basic first commands with Aider. I also want to quickly mention that if you are new to programming in general, you don't have a ton of experience with coding, this /ask and /help commands are the fastest way to learn how to code. You can ask detailed questions, very specific questions about any part of the code, anything that Aider wrote, anything that somebody else wrote, if you're exploring another code base, and it's going to give you detailed answers in plain English about how the code works. And that is super, super impactful when you're first getting started. All right, so that is it for lesson 2. Hopefully you have a good understanding of the basic commands. In lesson 3, we're going to start building on top of this Wikipedia fetcher program. So we're going to be doing some simple data analysis and getting into how to better prompt Aider, how to use multiple files, all of that. So get ready for lesson 3. Again, go practice all of this stuff, and I will see you in lesson 3.